Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Are you sinking company profits into marketing campaigns that do nothing to contribute to the growth of your business? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize both legal and media marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. And whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, or simply attempting to get a better return for your business marketing dollars, Bill Bernard and Rick Moscoso will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill and Rick for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Well, good morning to everybody. We're here for another show, the Bottled Business Sense show. I'm Bill Bernard of WFB Legal Consulting Incorporated, and I'm here with my co-host Rick Moscoso of our Two Visual Studios. How are you today, Rick?
I'm doing great, Bill. Welcome to the show, and welcome to our viewers out there.
Yes, we have an interesting show today, I think, Rick. We are going to talk about some of the major reasons why entrepreneurs fail in their startup businesses, what they fail to do or take advantage of, which eventually leads to the business's demise. And it's a very, very nice mixture of marketing and legal principles that I think every business owner and entrepreneur needs to be aware of. So I'm very much looking forward to discussing that. Before we get started, Rick, can you fill everybody in real quickly about where they can get a hold of us if they're interested to either to be on the show or to contribute to the show in some way?
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. For the first-time viewers out there, or if you've been listening for a while, we shape this show based on your feedback. So if you have suggestions for future shows, by all means, submit them in. You can contact us through email at bottledbusinesssenseshow@gmail.com. You can also see us on social media, on Facebook, Google Plus at Bottled Business Sense Show, and also on Twitter at BB Sense Show. If you would like to be a guest or be a sponsor on the show, go ahead and contact us or come to our website at bottledbusinesssenseshow.com, and there's a form on there that you can fill out that we can take a look at for having you as a guest on a future show. So your feedback's welcome, your participation is welcome, and we look forward to having you on a future episode.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rick. Listen, what I thought I'd do today to get started is to we're basically trying to piece this into about 5 major areas that entrepreneurs need to be aware of in making their startup businesses successful. And some of those will have some subcategories. But let's talk about the first one, which is equity financing. Many times entrepreneurs will live in a vacuum. They'll be by themselves. They won't have the right tools to get started either on their own or in conjunction with somebody else who is in as bad a shape as they are. There is something called financing, which is very, very important. And I need to point out at the top of the show that without proper financing, especially if you have a business entity, this is one of the areas where someone who, if they decide to come after you through litigation, can attempt to pierce the veil, the business entity veil, better known as the corporate veil, if you are not properly financed, if you don't have enough money to cover the debts and the liabilities of your company. So it's important to be properly financed when you get started with your business. Equity financing is a way that you can ask someone to come into the company to provide money to your company in exchange for a piece of the business. So they get a piece of the action, so to speak, in exchange for contributing some capital to the business. It's an important way to go, and it's extremely viable if you don't have enough personal funds of your own to get started with. I know some of the other ones that we've talked about. We talked about, I think, in a prior show, the availability of friends and family for purposes of getting a new business started by way of the proper capitalization, Rick. And we talked about the fact that friends and family can be just as much adversaries as they can be helpful to the company. And so you want to be careful who you invite in terms of friends, family. You want to make sure that this, if they're going to contribute capital to your company, that this corresponds with the proper agreements in place. And we'll get into that in a minute. I know you feel the same way about that, Rick.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you are considering having family and friends participate in your business, make sure, though, first that it's congruent with your business plan, and that the potential partners that are coming in or people that are going to help you fund understand that this is your business, right? And not theirs. They're investing an interest in that business, but without a solid business plan, you're just asking for a nightmare.
Well, there's a couple of ways to do this, and one of them is to have them come into the business, as I said, through an equity financing or direct financing, but make sure you maintain control of the business. Unless it's somebody you feel really comfortable about, and you want to give them an equal share in the business, that's your decision. But whether you give them an equal share or not, both scenarios are just critically important that you have the proper agreement in place. Yeah. And you need this agreement whether you have a business entity or not. You need a contractual agreement that spells everything out. And we're going to get into that a little bit in a few minutes.
Yeah. What other types of traditional funding would you recommend out there for a new business owner?
Well, we have obviously secured and unsecured loans. So if you're in a position to be able to get a loan from a financial institution, that's always available, and that's always, well, not always available, but it's always one of the means by which you should consider raising capital. And if you've got good credit, go ahead and take advantage of that. I know when I got started in my business, for example, I didn't really need it, but I established a business line of credit with my financial institution for purposes of having that money there on a rainy day if I need it. And don't forget, you can always use somebody else's money for a period of time with the option of paying it back and incurring very little interest if you do it properly. Just pay it back within the time allotted for when interest accrues. A good example would be credit cards. You go out and you buy something on your American Express. Many times you'll buy it on the American Express card without really having to do so, but you want to use somebody else's money. That gives you 30 days to pay it off, and if you do so within that 30 days, you don't accrue any additional interest on your American Express card.
And I think that comes with some caution, though, wouldn't you say, Bill? Especially if you're putting a ton of money or drawing a ton of money from a credit card, you really have to make sure that you have a solid plan in place that you can work, so you don't, in the first couple of months, you don't immediately start in such huge debt that you've got to shut down.
Right, and you need that business plan, and we're leading right into that at this point, except that I want to mention very quickly that you need to, as part of that business plan, determine what your startup expenses are, and that should be part of the business plan, so you know what capital you need to raise. Just don't go out there willy-nilly and decide, okay, I'm going to raise as much capital as I can, or I'm just going to raise X amount of dollars without really knowing what those dollars need to be.
I want to throw another option out there, Bill, because this is gaining popularity in a non-traditional way to raise funding for a new business or for a new product, maybe that's being manufactured that you could potentially sell later on, and that's crowdfunding. There's many different opportunities to raise money at low risk because once you set a goal to raise X amount of money, you promote that through social media channels or to family and friends as a way of participating. And the project doesn't get funded unless you raise that money that meets that particular goal that you send. And there's different gates that you have as far as rewarding your investors out there. So again, that if you're not familiar with crowdfunding or crowdsourcing, go to a great place to start would be a place like Kickstarter.com. And there are a number of different crowdfunding websites out there you can research as another option to raising money.
That's an excellent point, Rick. Crowdfunding, business loans, credit cards, equity funding, bringing someone into the company. All of these things that we mentioned are critically important, not only to raise the capital you need to have your business survive, but make sure you understand you need to be properly capitalized in order to avoid a personal liability should you have a business entity that is based on the notion that it is properly capitalized. That's one of the requirements. Let's move into the second item that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs don't embrace, Rick, and that is, of course, a business plan. And then we briefly touched upon it. In order to raise capital, every new business idea must have a marketable potential, and it must be accompanied by a well-structured, comprehensive plan that sets out the goals of each of the business owners. It must be organized properly, and you must be encouraged to seek proofreading of what your plan is. Your plan incorporates a lot of different ideas from both a capitalistic standpoint to organization, to what you expect your profits to be within a 3 to 5 year period. All of these things, your costs, of your materials and of your product, if you have a product, your cost of services, if you need people involved in your company to help promote your company, all of these things need to be laid out. And what that really calls into play is what we've talked about on just about every show we've ever done, and that is have your marketing person, have your attorney, have your tax accountant on board. I can't think of 3 more critically required people to participate in helping you devise this business plan.
Yeah, so there's a lot of first-timers out there that dive into business and set themselves up for failure because they don't have a solid plan. But for the first-timer who really doesn't know how to put a business plan together, what would you recommend that they do?
Well, I would recommend that they, first of all, sit down and organize their own thoughts, because I know that sounds kind of quirky, but listen, a lot of people don't sit down and make an outline of what they want to accomplish. And I think if you sit down and you make that outline out, jot down those major ideas, and then call your attorney, and he can help you devise a business plan in conjunction with your tax accountant. That really is the key. The attorney is going to be able to have the wherewithal to tell you what a business plan looks like and what the ingredients are, and some of them I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And your tax accountant is going to be able to help you with the numbers and the projections, both in terms of startup costs and what your profitability needs to be in order to make this business survive. So that's the first thing I would ask them to do. I would ask them to sit down and make some bullet points out as to what they want to accomplish, what are their goals, what are their business goals, and then the proper marketing person can tell them how to reach those goals, the tax accountant can tell them the money they're going to need to reach those goals, and the business attorney is going to be able to show them how to put this plan together in a cohesive form that they can refer to whenever they need to make sure they stay on track with those in order to obtain those goals, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in agreement that you really have to have a plan, a business plan to work from, and that all comes in part of the preparation. You've got to be able to, you've got to thoroughly prepare, you've got to thoroughly plan and have a solid business plan. Because without a baseline where you're starting from, how can you adjust and know that what you're doing is providing you with the results that you want? And if it's not, well, then how do you adjust, right? So
right.
You've got to have a baseline.
You got to have a baseline. You're absolutely right, and a business plan is not just something that you devise and then all of a sudden you set it aside. It's something that that's very cohesive. That's something that you refer to quite often should you get off track, and it's something that I think really needs to be considered on a daily basis, really, or at least a monthly basis, to make sure that you stay on track. And someone else, by the way, who can help you with a business plan in terms of devising a marketable strategy would be a business coach. Mm-hmm. And this leads, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, but I wanted to bring up this point, and that is the reason we mentioned financing first before we mentioned the business plan, because we know that financing and capitalization is part of the business plan. The reason we mentioned it first is because you've got to be willing to spend money to make money. You've got to have a source of those funds and determine the source. How am I going to get it? What am I going to do? Maybe it's multiple sources you're going to use. And then you devise a business plan to firm up how much you're going to need, and that will better give you some clarity into what sources may be the most viable for you to grab onto and get your arms around.
Right. Well, we'll pick up the rest of the discussion here, but I think this is a good time, Bill, to talk about one of our first sponsors.
Yes. Absolutely, Rick. And that would be our Bottled Business Sense newsletter. You can find the newsletter at bottledbusinesssense.com. Obviously, our show is bottledbusinesssenseshow.com. The newsletter is bottledbusinessense.com. It provides you with a newsletter with articles both in the three areas of business that I cover, which is asset protection, estate planning, and employment law. And it also provides you with different philosophical ideas and maybe discussions that you might want to participate in or get to know a little bit more about, as well as some marketing ideas. I'm happy to announce that Rick is coming on board with that newsletter, and he's going to be doing an article for the newsletter, which will be coming out the middle of this month. And he's going to talk about a number of different issues that are both relevant and exciting to entrepreneurs and business owners. So we'd invite you to please take a look at the new newsletter at the website. And if you're interested in receiving it, it's absolutely free. You just sign up in the box provided. AWeber will send you a link. You click on the link and say you are verifying the desire to have the newsletter, and you'll get it on a monthly basis. And looking forward to Rick's contribution in that regard.
Great. I'm looking forward to that, Bill. There's a lot of valuable information to share to our newest entrepreneurs out there that are interested in this subject of marketing. So I'm happy to contribute.
Fantastic. Well, let's get back to some of the meat of our show, and the next area I want to discuss, the third area, would be the powerhouse of having an agreement, the powerful tool of having an agreement. You need an agreement in place. A contract forms the basis of what a business lawyer does. And that's why I've always professed to have this business model that encompasses your business in terms of asset protection and employment law, and then estate planning for the personal assets. I've talked about that for quite some time now, and the principle, the underlying principle or foundation under all of those things is a contract. Everything you do in those three areas are contractually based. So you need to have those proper contracts in place. We've talked about this on prior shows, as you might recall, Rick. Mm-hmm. For an LLC, you need an operating agreement. that spells out whose responsibilities are what, who's got the majority say, if anybody, how voting is to occur, how the transfer of membership units are to occur, how dissolution is to occur. All of these things are spelled out, so nothing is left to surmise.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to point out to the viewers that they may have the perception that having contracts would only apply to a company that has a team of people. But I think, wouldn't you agree? I mean, isn't it equally important, even if you're a sole entrepreneur starting out, that you really need to think about talking to an attorney to have some of these contracts in place to protect yourself, right?
Right. It's. I mean, I just can't emphasize it enough. In today's DIY do-it-yourself world, many people think that they have the ability to go and create their own contracts. And listen, I know we have an extremely bright audience out there, and I know that many people want to take a shot at it and attempt to save money, and that's fine. But you know what? If you do that, it doesn't hurt to pay a few dollars to a lawyer to have him review that, or to at least revise it if necessary, if he feels that revision is something that needs to be done. My recommendation, of course, would be to have an attorney do it. I think you're going to be able to find one that's competent and that's reasonable in their pricing. I certainly feel I fit both of those bills, but I really strive to make it economically feasible for my business clients to take advantage of my expertise. So please feel free to contact me or any other attorney that you feel comfortable with, and make sure that contract, that agreement is in place, because without it, especially when you have family members involved, as we talked about at the top of the show, without it, boy, you're just really asking for trouble.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bill.
The courtrooms are replete, both in asset protection and in estate planning, with relatives who are arguing over other relatives because they didn't get their fair share, or because they said one thing and the other party said another. So why deal with that? Why not save yourself the headaches? Deal with it up front. Get it on the record. The written word is extremely powerful, and it provides you with the evidence you need to support whatever position it is you're going to take.
Yeah, exactly. So once we develop a business plan, we have our agreements in place, and you've launched your business, and it's going along okay.
And we have our sources of capital.
You have your sources of capital. Quite frequently, you get to the point where the results aren't exactly what you want, and competitors are doing better than you, right? And the first knee-jerk reaction to some people, maybe that don't have the thick skin of competition out there, is to just throw in a towel.
Well, that's true, Rick, and I think even a more succinct way to put it, if you'll allow me, is to say that they give up too soon. In other words, they're impatient. I think there was an article that came out some years back that said most businesses fail within the first 5 years. Well, essentially, you have to be patient, and you have to be willing to spend money. And in the last segment of the show, we're going to talk about some ways to make that happen. But I think what's important here is you really have to understand that different markets are complex, some more than others, and that in order to make this business plan work, it doesn't happen overnight. I'll give you an example. I talked to a business coach once a while back, and we were discussing how some of his clients expect immediate gratification, how they're frustrated at times because they don't get the results they want from him in a very short period of time. And I've always felt that one of the advantages of having a business coach is being able to know that you have the security of going to someone who's going to be able to help you over an extended period of time. You don't get immediate gratification. You get the ability and the security to know that help is there as you progress, and you can see in steps that your business is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The real key is not to give up easily, not to just, fold the tent and quit, but to keep plugging away every single day.
Yeah, and it's good to have someone like a business coach as a third party who's objective and can stand back and look at the total landscape of what you're doing, because entrepreneurs get to tend to get way too wound up and way too close and way too narrow focused on what they're doing, and sometimes try forcing strategies where clearly, as somebody looking from the outside would say, what the heck are you doing? I mean, that's just not working for you. Can't you see that, right?
Well, take your own business, for example, Rick. If you're doing a media marketing or visual marketing expose for a client, you're doing this over the course of time. You may have clients where you do a specific segment, but whether you do a specific job for that client or work with that client over a period of time, you don't expect one showing of whatever it is you've done to immediately produce millions of dollars for their company, right?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a process. Just one ad isn't going to make you millions, right? But multiple ads over over a period of time, that's way more effective than just trying to do it with one. Trying to hit a home run with one commercial.
There's a reason that the phrase patience is a virtue is coined, and that is because it is a virtue, and it requires some hard work and some perseverance. And so these are things that entrepreneurs often forget and just fold the tent and say, well, I'm going to go work for somebody else. One other last point I wanted to make before we go into our next commercial break, and that's this. Many people, I've had people tell me, gee, I really like the fact that I'm working for someone else. I feel it's more stressful to go out and try to start my own business for some of the reasons that we've been discussing here today. Well, really, when you work for somebody else, you could be laid off, you could be terminated for the most part at their whim. When you have your own business, you're the one that's in control of that business. You're the one that has the power. It really tests your mettle. Are you going to survive? Are you going to make up your mind that you're going to make this business continue and be successful? That's the time, ironically enough, you have the most control over your own destiny, when you own your own business, not when you work for somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly put, Bill. I mean, you look at some of the most successful businesses out there that started in a garage as an entrepreneur. I mean, we all know the stories that started in the garage with HP, with Apple, with all these great companies. And
we've got Google, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, right? We've got all these amazing companies that persevered and made up their mind that they were going to follow this, these tips, and that they were going to make sure that their business was going to be successful.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the finality of the show, Rick, the last important point that we want to make, point number 5, actually, I want you to tell us. I think we have a new sponsor on board, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have a new sponsor, and that is Larry Harrison of Harrison Auto. Larry is owns a car company, a car sales company that can sell new cars, but he really specializes in used and leasing cars. He has a network of buying power through a lot of these dealerships from around the area. And I tell you, if you want the least amount of hassle in car buying, Larry's the guy to do it, because he'll go out and work these guys, get you the best deal, so there's no haggling on the price, and if he needs to, he'll deliver it to your door. I mean, Larry's great to work with. I've had the experience where he's helped me buy a car for my daughter, and I know a number of people that use his services, and it's quick. Bill, I think you purchased a car from him, right?
I did, and his motto is no salesman, no hassle, no kidding. And I think that's very cool, because what he does is he has a 3-tier company. You can go buy a new car from him and have him do all the negotiations with the dealership, tell him what you want, how much you want to spend. You can go get a lease car from him. He'll work with the leasing agent, or you can buy a used car. And something I should mention about Larry is his cars are almost 90 to 95% original. His used cars, they're original owner cars. In other words, he'll sell them to you after he buys them from the original owner. And that's what I did. And I can't speak highly enough about the hassle-free experience I and others receive when you go to Harrison Auto. So try him out, Harrison Auto. And I believe, do you have his information there real quick?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you can check Larry out at harrisonauto.com, or give him a call at 800-888-7987. He's located here in Southern California, but he will work with anybody anywhere here in the U.S.
Okay, fantastic. We want to end the show on point number 5, which really has a number of subsections to it, or subtopics. Excuse me, and that is the importance of feedback. Either because of embarrassment or because of pride, or whatever the case may be, not enough entrepreneurs seek feedback from their customers. And remember, customers know best. I'm gonna name just a few areas here, and Rick will go into some of these in more detail. But there are such things as surveys, and there's different ways to obtain surveys. There's infographics that you can participate in, and Rick will talk about that. Playing up your own locale, advertising in your local area as opposed to trying to reach a wider area that costs you more money and more time and effort. Incentives, giving away things or providing coupons for your business. Networking would be a big one, and of course webinars, and we mentioned earlier a business coach. These are critical things that I really think entrepreneurs, if they would do these things, would just have overwhelming success from the get-go. Let's talk a little bit, Rick. Let's start out about customer surveys. I know you know some areas or some tools that that entrepreneurs can use.
Yeah, there's a number of different platforms out there that people can use to do online surveys, and one of them is SurveyMonkey. It is I think the entry level is free, and you can either send it out in the form of an email, you can send it out and have it posted on your website. Wherever you go to do it, it's definitely a good strategy to have and to utilize, because it gets the feedback of your current clients, people maybe that have used your services before or have heard about you, but it's a great way to get anonymous feedback from people, and they tend to be more honest on what they provide for you. So that's a great way to do it.
They really do. That's an interesting aspect of it. I noticed that they really do. Painfully honest, but that's what you want. You want feedback because, look, everybody's heard of the old adage, you learn from your mistakes, right? And you need to look at your mistakes in a positive way and learn from them instead of getting all bummed out and depressed about what people might tell you. But you'd be surprised how much positive you probably get as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you really have to stand back and don't take any form of criticism personally, because that'll kill you. You got to take it professionally and find ways to improve. That's the information that they're providing for you. So why not take why not take that advice and or that feedback and make changes to make your company even better?
Tell us a little bit about let me see if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Rick. Infographics. What exactly is that, and how can an entrepreneur take advantage of it?
Well, infographics are great because it takes complex ideas, right? Complex ideas that take a long time to discuss or to explain, and it forms it into the shape of a easy to understand graphic. And just one of the simple examples of that would be like if you're trying to communicate, let's say a user base, okay, based on where do you check your email from? I mean, this is just a gross example, but let's say you as an entrepreneur who markets your products and services or information electronically, you want to know where do people pick up their emails, because now you can shape your website and maybe even shape your strategy based on the device that they're checking it on. Are they checking it on their iPhones or their smartphones? Are they checking it on a desktop? Because you can specifically change your marketing strategy based on the platform that they might be checking this on. So rather than writing up this long text or description on what I just talked about there, you can easily make a pie chart, as simple as a pie chart, and divide it up and show, let's say 75% of people check their email on a smart device, and only 25% check it on a desktop. And then you could even break it down even more and say which platform on the desktop are they checking it from? Is it Google? Is it from Chrome? Is it from Internet Explorer? However detailed you want to get, this will give you a visual snapshot of complex information that's easy to digest and almost instantly be able to comprehend.
And this is, a good example of this. I think most people would know would be Google Analytics, for example, Rick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the analytics, because analytics, let's be honest. I mean, it can be very, very complex. But if you look at the analytics and even in what Google uses and how it displays out to you, it's very easy to understand and how they graph it and how they chart it. So infographics are a great way. It's a great hook, visual hook, when you're communicating with a target audience.
Yeah, and I might just point out as well that just because Google Analytics exists and just because everybody or most everybody knows about it doesn't mean that entrepreneurs use it.
Exactly.
So a tool is only as valuable as the one you use.
Mm-hmm.
So please look at infographics in general, and if you have any questions, please give Rick a call about it.
Yeah, I wanted to add in there too. As an entrepreneur, one of the best and easiest and most effective ways to grow your audience or build your network of people is to do some kind of local marketing. And both Bill and I are involved in business networks where we're talking to other business owners and getting our name out to them, so we can interact with their sphere of influence out there and get good referrals from them based on their experience. And if they know, trust, and like us, then obviously they're going to say good things about us. So local marketing in the form of networking groups is a great idea. Trade shows, Bill, I know both you and I have worked trade shows and have gotten great contacts and business out of that.
Absolutely, and webinars is another great example. Webinars in particular is something that obviously Rick could help you with. But I want to make this one point, and let me take my own profession for example. How many lawyers do you know, generally speaking, how many lawyers would you say go out to trade shows, go out to networking events, and meet face to face with people? You're not going to find many big law firms or a whole bunch of lawyers doing that sort of thing. And the reason I decided to do it is because I wanted to bring the big firm atmosphere to the local entrepreneur on a more personal level, a one-to-one level, with more competitive prices and with better service. A perfect example is when I give a client a phone number, I give them my cell phone number so they can get a hold of me in particular. They don't have to go through several different people. The only exception to that would be, of course, if I'm tied up, if I'm in court, or I'm with a client, and they'll have to wait for my return call. But other than that, these types of personalized marketing techniques that you utilize give you what we talked about on point number 5 after our last commercial break. They give you personal feedback. You're going to have personal contact with people, not only to promote your business, but to get the feedback you need to ensure that your business goes forward. And I think the only last point we want to talk on before we close the show real quick in this feedback loop, if you will, Rick, is getting professional feedback from a business coach. We know many. There's a few in particular we would recommend, and I got to tell you that providing feedback, giving you objective guidance is critically important. Why do they always say that you should never be your own lawyer if you're sued? Well, because when you're taught as a lawyer in law school to be devoid of emotion, to think objectively on behalf of your client, you're not involved in the emotional aspects of the litigation like your client is. The same holds true in your own business. Have a business coach who has no emotional involvement in the business, but rather can give you an objective, candid view of what you need to do and how you need to do it. I can't emphasize that enough, and I'm sure you'd agree with that, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I've seen things more clearly than having a third party or a third person's objective, like a business coach, take a look at what I'm doing to make sure that I'm in line with what I should be doing in my business. Right?
And in that regard, let me mention to you that while the name of Rick's business isn't business coach or business marketing, this is the guy that I go to for my marketing, my video marketing, my media marketing, my email marketing. He's a guy who can provide you with very candid, objective opinions about what you need to do in that area. And so if that's the specific a couple of areas you're really interested in to get started, give Rick a call, because he can coach you through the best marketing tools that you're going to need to get your business up and running on the most important and the most popular platforms that are out there today.
Well, great, Bill. Thank you very much for that. And if you have any questions or need to talk about some of the projects that you're working on out there, you can contact me at rick@r2visualstudios.com or at 949-667-1182. And Bill, how would someone get a hold of you?
They could contact me at 949-413-6535 or 949-698-6222, or through email at bill@wfblegalconsulting.com. Before we close the show, we want to just briefly mention a couple of things, some housekeeping matters. This will be our last show without being in the studio together. We're back together again next week. This is I'm finishing up my business out of town. I want to thank everybody and appreciate their patience, but also they had the advantage of seeing Rick's magic here in this dual studio role and his ability to make this all come together. So I appreciate that, Rick, and I'm looking forward to being back with you next week.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to having you back in the studio, Bill.
Fantastic. And our next show, I think, will be touching on something that I've had some questions about in terms of people giving me feedback. We're on the topic of feedback here. I've gotten feedback asking people to tell me a little bit about powers of attorney and how they're used. So we're going to talk a little bit about powers of attorney, how they're used independently and how they're used in conjunction with an estate plan as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that, Rick.
Awesome. Well, I want to welcome and thank everybody that's been on the show with us today. We look forward to seeing you next week with Bill's topic. And from Southern California here at the Bottled Business Sense Show Studios, we look forward to having you again next week.
Okay, everybody, take care, everybody. Have a healthy and prosperous week. And we'll look forward again to seeing you next week. Take care, everyone.